Hey Overlanders, Dave, Weekend Overlanding, making a second video of the day. Apparently there's been some confusion, and I thought about this, and it's really answering a lot of questions for me about why people had certain questions about things that kind of, I was confused why people had questions about things that I thought were clear. And I realized it's because we haven't discussed this even more basic. So one of the questions I keep running across is about the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail. Is it this? Is it that? I completely had never discussed it this way, and I never realized that people are asking about it in this manner. I guess it's not clear that the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail is not like a trail. It's not like, all right, you get there's a sign, welcome to the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail, go this way. And then when you get to the next intersection, there's a little arrow, or you follow this trail along, and no. I think that's where the confusion arises. I think people don't realize that are new to this, that just like any other overlanding route or adventure or any type of trail in overlanding, it's not like you get to like, for instance, if you're familiar with the way bike paths work, you get to an area with a bike path or a trail like for hiking or something that's marked, and there's maps that go, okay, you gotta turn here, you follow this, and there's like a tree here with a sign. Nope, no. It's a very, very, very different concept. Let's take this to the most basic part of how this trail started. So, the dual sport community, the guys that are into the motorcycles that are dual sport or multi-purpose, that are on and off road setups. So they're in a very odd situation. Now this can vary state to state, but a lot of states, especially around here, the central part of the United States and the Midwest and probably the Northeast too, to an extent. A dual sport motorcycle is licensed for operation on public roads, and therefore is not an ATV. So it's a catch-22 that they're in. And one of the catch-22s that they are in is the fact that they can't go on ATV trails. So they can't go on an ATV trail, but they can go on a road. So what do? They can't just go like to hit an ATV trail and just join in, because technically they don't have a number or license numbered with DNR or BLM or whichever the authority is in the area, region, or state, that they can travel on these places. This is considered a motorized vehicle upon which to be driven on highways. So what these guys did is a whole bunch of them that were familiar with areas in little routes, in roads and forestry roads and all of that in Wisconsin, had mapped little areas at a time. And henceforth, because of their limitation to be on public motorized authorized roads, whether that's a highway, byway, forestry road, a scenic bypass of some sort, or there are a lot of dirt roads like this. There are roads that are that take you through residential areas that are unpaved. There are roads that are forest roads that are used for logging. There are roads that are used for as fire access roads. There are Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Forestry Service access roads, and DNR paths. So all of these conglomerations of little paths and roads and all of this, from interstate highway down to the smallest 2-track coming through that's open to the public, has been mapped and stitched together by form of waypoints. Now this road, or this trail as we call it, isn't a trail. There is no it in the trail. It's not like it's like, so it's just a bunch of waypoints on maps that are linked together to create this thing we call the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail. So it's not as simple as I'm going to download a file that's like a or a punch into a nav unit, Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail, and go, because it's not going to give you turn-by-turn nav instructions. That just doesn't work that way. Doesn't mean that in the future someone can't create using software to create a turn-by-turn, but as it is now, it's just a bunch of waypoints that get linked, and you gotta kind of follow waypoints area to area, where your navigation skill has to be keen, your ability to decipher where you are on a map, and being able to figure out, okay, do I turn here to hit the next next spot on the map, the next way point, flagged spot, and kind of traveling throughout this path. Now, an interesting thing is it changes. That's one thing a lot of people don't understand is even if you're following it, you might see an area there's a waypoint. You might see that on your map. You might see it on all different types of navigation units, everything. But the road, there's no road there anymore. But the road's alongside it now, or the road is, as you're driving, the road is completely in a different area. It's like going, wait a minute, I thought it was supposed to turn over here. Why am I going straight? And then I'm turning ahead in a quarter mile or a mile or two or whatever. Why? Well, it's because the Forestry Service may change the roads as conditions and roads deteriorate, or they want to protect areas. There's logging roads. Organizations, private organizations, logging companies create these to run their equipment and trucks through and back into towns, and how the workers the loggers get to and from. And if they're done logging an area, they're going to, at that point, have to get to a different area. They may replant that area and close that part of the road off completely. They don't have to report this to any mapping service or anything. They don't have to do that. At some point, there will be updates to that, but I mean, it could be years. Bridges go out that weren't traveled and aren't worth repairing, and then suddenly you have an area also where the road's just not there anymore. So all of this combines to being part of the adventure trail. Some of you may kind of look at this as going, well, how do you make heads or tails of this? Well, part of it is following routes that have been kind of carved out by others, files and GPX format, where we can plug them into certain types of software and be able to decipher our location versus where we need to be versus where the roads are. And a lot of it's orienting on a map to get to the places that we are looking at on the trail. So the trail itself is always evolving and changing and becoming different. Challenges can be even things to the effect of weather related, where roads are completely washed out and just cut out of there. I mean, they're just not going to make those, there's no reason for that access road, and they just shut that down and it's done. New roads, somebody built the house, a couple of people built the house. So in other words, it's an ever evolving path. It is literally stitched together. So like, the best way to explain that to somebody who doesn't understand how that works is, so like if you punch in your nav unit, you want to get from point A to point B in the city, it's going to take you the major routes, including highways and byways and streets, and just to make the most efficient way to get you there. Now, imagine if you walked across that city and you decided to use alleys and bike paths and trails and walking trails and all that, and you sat there and you left breadcrumbs along the way on a map, and you sat down and you mapped those little paths together. That's what the trail consists of. So I think that makes it a little bit more clear as to what people may consider the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail. Because in its simplest form, it's just a bunch of little tiny paths and roads and anything that's open to the public that you can drive over, stitched together. So I had noticed that some of the questioning had always come to, it's like, well, you know, I mean, I heard it was this, or I heard it was that. This also leads me to the whole thing about camping. Well, I heard people can just pull over and camp. Well, no. I mean, can you do that? I mean, I'm not even going to discuss the legality because I don't know and I'm not an attorney. And I'm definitely not up to date with every single law in Wisconsin on where you can and can't camp under what condition. But as a general statement, I look at it as this. Can I just pull over anywhere and just decide to camp? Well, a lot of these roads, someone doesn't come down there every day. So, you know, the truth is, people probably pull over and camp while they're on the route, on somewhere on some forest road or some fire road, and it's just because nobody notices there. I'm sure 100% that if an authority, whoever that road is under the authority of, if he or she were driving by and saw you in the middle of the night or in the morning or in the evening camping, there'd probably be a pretty good discussion of what are you doing. The reason is, these are public, open to public routes. Now, anywhere past that public route that you're driving on, you're really, first of all, not supposed to drive on it. So, to leave your car, or to pull your car, let's say you got a rooftop tent, let's say you got a very traditional overlanding setup. So, the moment you drive off the road, the designated road, to even a clearing or something right on the side there, that's like you driving off, parking on the shoulder and driving down into the embankment somewhere on the highway. You've left the designated route. Don't know what the legality is on it, but I'm pretty sure that's probably not going to be acceptable. The other thing is, you're going to be in state forests, national forests, and preserves. With all of those, I'm not aware of any single one that will allow camping that is unpermitted, meaning you need to have a permit or some type of special permission to do it, or you know, to be able to do this in non-designated areas. That's just, I've never seen that. I could be wrong, but I just never seen that. So taking into account all of that, the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail, as it is, and the way it's all stitched together, there are plenty of areas also that are set up where the road goes, and then there's camping. There's areas that are designated on there going, hey, here's a spot where there's a campground, or here's a spot where there's a designated state park camping facility right off of here. And then you have to, you know, there's usually, even if they're unmanned year round, there's like a little envelope, okay? Looks like a bank envelope, and you fill it out, and then you put your money in there, and then you drop it into a, like kind of like a little mailbox station. Now, most of those, if you're going to stay overnight in those areas, also you're going to need some type of special permit, like I've got like a Wisconsin State Parks, or you need a U.S. Forestry Service sticker of some sort. Hence why we decided to make sure that our arrangements for lodging was going to be in a private facility and outside of the Nicolet National. And that's just for ease of beginners into it, because once again, you know, some people may not find the reason to spend $50 on a sticker they're going to use one time. So once again, this is to make everything as smooth as possible for the beginner, and for somebody who may want to learn more about overlanding, but has no idea about overlanding in general. So that all being said, I want everybody to understand that this is extremely different. This is basically road tripping and taking a way where the map wouldn't take you, or the navigation wouldn't take you. And it may not be the most expeditious way. Obviously, the most expeditious way is hop on the highway, follow your nav, and just go. And 70 miles an hour, boom, you're there. But overlanding is based completely on the premise of the travel to the destination is the attraction in itself. Meaning that you get to see things that you traditionally will not. Life just passes you by. At 70 miles an hour on the interstate, you're gonna, you know, it's a different experience than 30 miles an hour on a, you know, 25 to 30 miles an hour on a gravel or dirt road. Now, from my experience, speeds in the average areas that would be unimproved, or I'll call dirt roads, which are not all dirt. They could be sand, dirt, gravel, pea gravel, any type of road like that. You're going to be expect to be traveling right around 30 miles an hour. Any areas that are paved byways and 2 lanes, expect to keep it around 45 to 50 miles an hour. There may be a section or two that may cover on an interstate that we'll try to stay together, and we'll cross that bridge when we do, but in a matter of speaking. But overall, my general experience has been every 3 hours is a day. So what between 2 points where it would take you approximately 3 hours by punching from one point A to point B in a nav into Google Maps or wherever, it says it's roughly 3 hours. That's going to take you a day. So that's why it's very interesting that, you know, day one of our travel is going to start in Toma Sparta split right there, 1994 split. So from there to our camp is going to take the better part of a day. Second day from our camp to the end, most northern point in mainland of Wisconsin is going to be roughly almost a day. That's why we recommend 2 days, because we will be taking roads at about 50 miles an hour back over, and in what is going to take us almost a day is going to take about an hour and 40 minutes to come back on regular roads. And from there, leaving Monday morning to return, major interstates are going to take us about 6.5-ish, 7 hours. So I hope this has been a little bit more informative to all of the members and people who are interested in what the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail really is. If you have any questions, you know, feel free to comment below. Comment below anything. Like my video, share my videos. You can share it with other groups. Feel free to share. Also, you want to comment on our Facebook page, Weekend Overlanding. You can also email questions to me at weekendoverlanding@gmail.com. Or if you want to get a hold of Thomas, Thomas is extremely versed in the trail also. And you can contact him at info@chicagooverlanding.com. Have yourself a great evening, and hope to hear from all of you pretty soon.